From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. We're looking back on the Cold War this week with games all about that era.
Coming up later this hour, we'll see how well you know actual quotes from history about the Cold War versus lines from Hollywood movies. And we have 3 stories about the era, but only 2 of them are true. Can you guess which one we made up?
No. If you'd like to join us for these games, all you got to do is call or text us, 803-470-6347. One more time, that's 803-470-6347. Or you can send us an email, whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. You could take home the title of the Who What When Chamber of the Week, and more importantly, that trophy. You know what I'm talking about. It's the Who What When Fanny Pack.
We sure do, Brand, and we're touching on a very interesting topic this week, and I know you know a ton about the Cold War, Brand, but just for ease, I'll just explain that it's the conflict between the United States and the former Soviet Union that lasted almost the entire back half of the 20th century. It was a period of major geopolitical tension that followed World War II and came to an end with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991.
Dan, I don't think this is going to surprise you. I know a little bit about the Cold War, but I admit maybe some of it has left my brain. What was behind the fight that went on for a better part of 45 years?
Well, the roots of the Cold War, Brand, I appreciate you asking, come from a disagreement over basically capitalism or communism. That's the democracy or communism is the idea. After World War II in Eastern Europe, the United States and its allies were worried about the spread of communism by the Soviet Union, and the Soviets and their allies were weary of the U.S. trying to impose Western influence on Europe. So the world ended up split between kind of 3 groups during this time, which Western media started to refer to as the 3 worlds. The first world was the United States and NATO countries like the United Kingdom and France and other allies. The second world was the Soviet Union, China, and other communist allies. And the third world of neutral countries, or countries that really didn't associate with either of those 2 blocks, were mainly existing in Africa, Asia, and Latin America.
All of that makes perfect sense. I've heard those terms that make sense. But what about the conflict itself, the Cold War? Why was it just really cold? Like, why was it the Cold War?
That would make a lot of sense, Bran. We only fought in cold climates, but that's actually not true. It's cold because it wasn't hot. There wasn't a lot of actual fighting going on. There wasn't a lot of guns and tanks and bombs. There was a consistent threat of war. So there was an ideological war and there was a threat of nuclear war, but instead of actual battles, the United States and the Soviet Union used strategies like social campaigns, propaganda, regime changes in other countries, economic attacks in the form of embargoes, technological competitions like the space race or nuclear proliferation, and of course, good old-fashioned spying through espionage.
We do love a good spy story, Dan.
And all of this was happening while so many cultural and social changes were also happening around the world. Everything from the civil rights movement to the evolution of home computers. There's so much we could cover about the Cold War era. It could take up a year of Who, What, When episodes, but we're just going to try to hit some of the big topics today.
That sounds great. And what will make it even better is if we have some contestants on the line to join us. Let's go ahead and bring them on.
Caller number 1, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Kyle. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Kyle from Rock Hill, South Carolina. And upon hearing for the first time, Kyle, that the topic is the Cold War, did that make you excited or did that make you shiver?
I mean, I was really hoping it was going to be Harry Potter. So
fair.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
we'll see what we can do when that episode finally happens.
All right, Kyle. Good luck. You're going to be playing against caller number 2. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
CJ, and I'm from Columbia, South Carolina.
CJ from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina.
Fantastic.
So let's get started, shall we? Bran, a song I've always loved is We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel.
I won't sing it. I don't want to get flagged, but I'm singing it in my mind, and it's great.
It's awesome. And you also know that I used to be a public school history teacher, and this song is a sort of like a history lesson about the Cold War told in less than 5 minutes. The verses are just Billy Joel listing major people, things, and events from the late 1940s through the end of the 1980s, mostly in chronological order. And that's why we're using it as the basis for our first game today. One that we're calling Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Oh, I love that. Kyle and CJ, here is how it's gonna go down. Dan has some some song lyrics. He's going to give you 2 of the 3 things mentioned in a verse, a clue about what comes between those 2 things, and a multiple choice for what could be missing in the middle. For example, if you're confused, here's an example. Coming between Harry Truman and Red China is this singer who became one of Hollywood's leading stars in the 1950s and 60s, appearing opposite Rock Hudson in 3 successful comedies. The answer, you might be wondering, it's Doris Day.
Excellent explanation there, Brian.
Thank you.
Kyle, first question in Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire is all yours. After Marilyn Monroe and before H-bomb, this couple was arrested, convicted, and executed for divulging atomic bomb secrets to Soviets. The case remains controversial, as many believe that while both of them were members of the Communist Party, they were less guilty of trading secrets and more of an unfortunate byproduct of the anti-communist hysteria. Is that A, Rosenbergs, B, Schwellenbachs, C, Fitzsimmons?
Well, Schwellenbach pitches for the Braves, so I don't think it's him.
All right.
We'll go Rosenberg.
He's going to go Rosenbergs, and he is correct.
Listen, that's as good as process of elimination as I've heard on this here show.
Kyle knows his Braves pitchers.
That's exactly right.
Which means he's going to crush Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Kyle, you're on the board. Just like that, you eliminated Schwellenbachs. You picked correctly Rosenbergs. CJ, we're coming to you for your first question. CJ, have you ever even heard the song We Didn't Start the Fire?
I've heard it, but to be quite honest, it's not one that I have, right on the top of my head. So this could be interesting.
Here we go. Your first question here on Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire. After Peter Pan and before Disneyland, this king offered a welcome musical distraction to the craze and fear of the Cold War, becoming one of the most successful individual music acts of all time, and also taking his music to the big screen, starring in 31 feature films. Is that A, James Dean, B, Elvis Presley, or C, Buddy Holly?
Gonna just go off the top of my head and say Elvis because he is the king.
Elvis is the king, and CJ is the correct. He got it right. We're tied up here on Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire. Elvis is correct.
Man.
Right?
That I think back to the fun Elvis story that you told once during a history of his story.
The sandwich.
Elvis is bigger than life.
He's a marvel.
He's huge.
Both James Dean, Buddy Holly, also in the song We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yes.
All 3 of them.
There you go.
So there you go. All right, Kyle, tie ball game. Back to you. Let's see if this one includes any Braves players. Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire. This city name starts a verse, followed by Pasternak, and it's the spot of an important educational fight for equality during the Civil Rights Movement when 9 students of color fought to attend their local all-white public high school in 1957. Is it A, Little Rock, B, Montgomery, or C, Birmingham?
Little Rock 9 is just a phrase that's in my head, so I'll go with Little Rock.
He knows the Little Rock 9, and that is correct.
There you go.
The Little Rock 9, Little Rock, Arkansas, the site of this particular part of the civil rights movement. He's correct. He's 2 for 2.
Very well done, Kyle. This is it was proof that you don't need to necessarily know everything.
You don't
just
need to know the whole
little
Braves
bits and
roster to
pieces,
get every question
You can
right.
put it together
That's
sometimes.
exactly
here in
right.
Who, What, We Didn't Start the Fire.
That's the game we're playing. CJ, a chance to tie it back up. Here we go. After Kerouac and before Chou-en-Lai, this Soviet satellite sparked fear throughout the United States as it was the first artificial satellite of any kind to successfully orbit Earth. Is it Zenit, Vostok, or Sputnik?
Gonna go Sputnik because it's the only one that really rings a bell in my head.
Those other 2 things are satellites that I had to look up. But yeah, Sputnik is the only one that any of us remember. And you are correct again, CJ. We've tied the game. Now, Bran, we're playing a tough game.
It is.
I don't want to sound the perfect game horn too early. Oh, no. So you went ahead, you pushed it.
I thought you said you wanted.
I don't want to.
You don't want to.
I don't want to, but you did it.
I got excited.
And once again, we keep trying to fix the horn, and it keeps coming out worse. But here we are. We are in a perfect game. Kyle, CJ, who, what, we didn't start the fire. Kyle, your next question starts right now. After Buddy Holly and before Space Monkey, this 3.5-hour religious epic that's famous for its chariot race won the Best Picture Oscar in 1959 and caught the eye of filmgoers because of its sheer scope and storytelling. Is that A, Lawrence of Arabia, B, Ben-Hur, or C, Cleopatra?
Well, first I was going to say 10 Commandments because of the chariots, but since that's not a choice, just a guess, Ben-Hur.
It's a guess, Ben-Hur. Maybe we didn't sound that horn too early. He is correct.
He's been right.
He's been right. Ben-Hur is correct. I did feel like putting 10 Commandments in here was too tricky.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And he, you know what? Kyle, once again, gets it right. He's 3 for 3. CJ, the pressure's now on you to keep the perfect game rolling. Your next question here on Who What We Didn't Start the Fire. After Woodstock and before punk rock, this scandal rocked U.S. domestic politics in the early 1970s, resulting in the almost impeachment but ultimate resignation of our 37th president. Is that A, Teapot Dome, B, Credit Mobile, or C, Watergate?
I actually know this one, so I'm just going to say it correctly and keep the perfect game going. C, Watergate.
He understands his time and place in history of this perfect game that we're embarking upon.
It's a big
And he's
deal.
correct. Watergate is correct. He's 3 for 3. The perfect game moves forward.
If this perfect game continues, it is possible that somebody will create a new version of We Didn't Start the Fire and they talk about this
game,
because
all
it's
of it.
so historic. It's possible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Kyle was perfect, CJ perfect, they were perfect, every perfect. I don't know how it goes from there.
You did a lot of perfects there.
Yeah,
We got to work on something
yeah,
else,
yeah.
but I like where you're going.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, well, you got to do that.
Yeah, of course. All right, Kyle, chance to once again regain the lead here on Who What We Didn't Start the Fire. Here's your question. After Chubby Checker and before Belgians in the Congo, this 1960 film wasn't even nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. But that didn't stop a creepy motel owner from scaring audiences half to death on the way to being consistently ranked in the top 20 films of all time by the American Film Institute. Is that A, Vertigo, B, Psycho, or C, North by Northwest?
Well, I heard the hotel clue in there, and I think Psycho's the only one so we'll go with Psycho.
Psycho is correct. These guys started the fire. That's who started. They're both on fire, Bran.
You know what I'm amazed? I'm amazed by both of these contestants' ability to kind of just listen in on the clues and pick out some things that may...
That's right.
It might not point them directly in the right direction, but... pretty darn close.
Yeah,
This
they're good.
is
These are-
expert players
Yeah,
today.
these two guys get it. They get
know how
the
to play
bit,
who,
they
what,
get the
when.
game. CJ, perfect game falls on your shoulders. We're playing Who What We Didn't Start the Fire here on Who What When. Here's your next question. After Joe DiMaggio and before Richard Nixon, this man was one of the centerpieces of the second Red Scare in the United States, a senator from Wisconsin that led witch hunts against folks he believed were communist, even though he never had any real proof. Was that A, Douglas MacArthur, B, Harry Truman, or C, Joe McCarthy?
I don't know why, but I'm going to go C, McCarthy.
He's going to go see Joe McCarthy, and maybe the answers, maybe the spirit of Billy Joel is in this place, and the answers are just being given to CJ because Joe McCarthy is correct.
Whoa.
Joseph McCarthy that is on his birth certificate, but Joe McCarthy is what Billy Joel says in his song.
Billy can do whatever he wants.
Harry Truman and Douglas MacArthur both accused of being communists during the second Red Scare. True story.
Wow.
True story, if you can believe it. Yeah.
I can.
You can. Of course you can. You're a
can
big
believe it.
second Red Scare head.
Come on, man.
Kyle?
Between us.
Perfect game. Last question of the round. For a perfect round, we're playing Who What We Didn't Start the Fire. I knew this game was awesome. Here we go. After The King and I and before Eisenhower, this J.D. Salinger novel was released in its entirety in 1951 and still holds sway today in its metaphor about not growing up and fearing maturity. Is that A, East of Eden, B, Fahrenheit 451, or C, The Catcher in the Rye?
That it comes after The King and I.
And before Eisenhower, yes.
Catcher in the Rye rhymes with King and I. So I'll go with Catcher in the Rye.
Kyle is pushing all the right buttons right now. He is correct. They don't all rhyme. All of these don't rhyme. I made that on purpose. But he knew this one rhymed. Wow. He went with it.
That's
and
good.
He is correct. And the catcher in the rye is the correct answer. Kyle with a perfect category. 5 for 5. I think you did it on purpose that time.
Sorry.
You did.
I'll say this.
Okay.
Executive producer Sean continued to insist that we use a guy named Nathan Horn to come in and work on the horn because, quote unquote, it's his last
special guest
name.
you were billing? Also,
I'll just say this, it's not Billy Joel.
Weirdly enough, in our ear, we can hear, normally A.T. Shire produces the show. Today, our executive producer has stepped in, Sean Birch, and Sean is in our ear constantly saying, sound the horn.
Yeah.
He just keeps saying, sound the horn, perfect game horn, don't forget the perfect game horn.
Yeah.
And so it's just nonstop.
Yeah.
All right, CJ.
He's pretty mad that we've only done it twice.
If you get this right, we get a perfect round, and the perfect game is still intact. We've sounded the horn twice. Don't let us down. Here we go. Who we didn't start the fire. Here's your last question of the round. After James Dean, this borough has got a winning team. After winning the World Series in 1955, this borough of New York finally could celebrate what was a usual affair for their crosstown rivals, the Yankees, in the Bronx. Is it A, Manhattan, B, Queens, or C, Brooklyn?
Man, I really don't like New York sports, so I don't know anything about them. I put them out of my brain. But I am going to say Brooklyn because I do believe there was an MLB team there at one time.
He's going to say Brooklyn because he believes there was an MLB team there at one time, and he's correct on both accounts.
We did it.
We did it. He's correct. The Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955 stole the show from the Yankees and won the World Series.
How about that? This is Who What When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my buddy Daniel Thompson, and today on the show we're discussing the Cold War era.
That's right, Bran. Our contestants CJ and Kyle are tied coming out of the first game, and coming up after the break, we'll see how well they can tell history from Hollywood when it comes to the Cold War.
That's next, right here on Who What When.
Welcome back to Who What When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my best bud, Brandon Gray.
Hello.
We're looking back on the Cold War today with games all about the era.
Before we return to those games, a quick reminder, we would love for you to be a contestant on a future episode of the program. All you got to do is call or text us, 803-470-6347, or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Our players this week are Kyle from Rock Hill, South Carolina, and CJ from Columbia, South Carolina. They're currently tied, but that could change with this next game, History or Hollywood. Here's how this is going to work. Bran is going to give you a dramatic reading of quotes about the Cold War that are either actual historical quotes from the era or they're from movies about the Cold War. You just need to tell us if each quote is history or Hollywood. Kyle, first question's yours. Bran, take it away.
We are engaged in a war. This war does not, for the moment, involve men at arms. It involves information. You will be collecting information. You will be gathering intelligence about the enemy. The intelligence you gather could give us the upper hand in a full thermonuclear exchange.
Try it again, George W. Thermonuclear.
Thermonuclear.
Nope.
I'm not going to be able to say this word, so I don't know what you want to do about it.
Thermonuclear.
Thermonuclear. I can't say the word.
Say the word clear.
Clear.
Say the word new.
New.
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Thermonuclear.
You say it.
Thermonuclear.
In a full thermonuclear exchange with the Soviet Union, or it could prevent one.
Kyle.
Guys, are there not words that you can't say?
No. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was doing
You
this
want to read it back to him
with George
clearly?
W. Bush. That was
Kyle?
fantastic. We're in.
This is going to be a tough one if there's more of that.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I'll read it again for you, Kyle. We're engaged in a war. The war does not, for the moment, involve men at arms. It involves information. You'll be collecting information. You'll be gathering intelligence about the enemy. The intelligence you gather could give us the upper hand in a full thermonuclear exchange with the Soviet Union, or it could prevent one. Go ahead, Kyle, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a public speech. It sounds like a military leader talking to some troops. I don't know why we would have a record of that if it really happened, so I'm going to go Hollywood.
He's going to go Hollywood, and that's really good deduction by Kyle from Rock Hill. He is correct.
He's good.
That is actor Michael Gaston in the Steven Spielberg film Bridge of Spies. Bridge of Spies. If you like Cold War history, Bridge of Spies, a banger of a movie. If you don't, you might be bored.
And that's Steven
Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
That's right. You'll get it. That's right. Nuclear.
Got
That's
it.
exactly right. That better make the podcast. I know. It better make the podcast.
Okay.
That's fantastic. All right, CJ. Perfect game. Still intact. Still on the line. History or Hollywood, Cold War edition. Bran, take it away.
Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
CJ, what do you think?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's
Thank
juicy.
you.
I'm gonna go history, and I feel like I just let one slip out of the hands and let somebody get on base. But yeah, I'm gonna go history.
He's going to go history, and don't worry, wherever you're sitting right now, whatever you're doing, if you're chewing on sunflower seeds, if you're in the car, in the drive-thru, just stop. Make that drive-thru line back all the way up, because we have a perfect game still going on. Wow. CJ is correct. That is John F. Kennedy, JFK, President JFK, giving a speech during the Cold War. It is history. The perfect game is intact. Kyle from Rock Hill, CJ from Columbia, all correct answers so far. We're playing history or Hollywood right here on Who What When. Bran's going to read the next quote. Kyle's going to tell us if it's history or Hollywood. Bran, take it away.
Well, the task I've set forth will long outlive our own generation, but together we too have come through the worst. Let us now begin a major effort to secure the best. A crusade for freedom that will engage the faith and fortitude of the next generation.
All right, Kyle, what are you thinking? History or Hollywood?
Don't have any clever way to work this one out. I'm just going to guess history.
He's going to guess history. And sometimes you think, the Who What When gods are just on your side.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like today. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, there's angels in the outfield and in the Who What When studios, because Kyle is correct. And the perfect game moves on. That is
Jimmy is on our side.
Ronald Reagan. That is Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan. You are correct. CJ, it bounces back to you. The stakes are getting higher each and every moment. Here on this week's Cold War episode of Who What When, it's history or Hollywood. Is this quote from history or is it from Hollywood? Bran, take it away.
Gentlemen, I want first reactions here. Assuming for the moment that Khrushchev has not gone off the deep end and intends to start World War III, what are we looking at?
CJ, what do you think?
I'm kind of going to go with Kyle's reasoning the first time. Why that would ever be on record for history would stump me. So I'm going to go Hollywood on that.
He's going to go Hollywood. He is correct. That is a movie called 13 Days about the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Bruce Greenwood plays John F. Kennedy, and that's him talking. More importantly than that, these guys know their Cold War. That's the only conclusion I can come to, is they know their Cold War, because we got a perfect game here on Who What When.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
We only got 6 questions left to find out who's going to move on to the next round, Bran.
It's hard to know if the goosebumps are from how cold I am or how excited I am about the perfect game. I'm not positive. It could be a combination of both.
Could be both. It's a combo, your outfit and the nerves.
Yes, that's exactly
All right, Kyle, see if you can guess this next question correct here on history or Hollywood. Bran, take it away.
We have to get through. We have to get tough with the Russians. They don't know how to behave. They are like bulls in a china shop. They are only 25 years old. We're over 100, and the British are centuries older. We have got to teach them how to behave.
Got to teach them how to behave. Kyle, What are you thinking, history or Hollywood?
That's quite a way to talk a rival country. I think that would be risky, but I don't think they were messing around back then. I'm going to go history.
Kyle went history again, and he's correct again. I thought that would stump him because it certainly sounds like a movie. It didn't. That's Harry Truman just giving a speech about Russia.
That? Kyle almost talked himself out of it, and then he talked himself back into it.
Man, this perfect game. I mean, we can, there's got to be a winner, right, Bran? We just got two juggernauts here. Yeah. CJ, back to you. The ball is in your court. History or Hollywood, Cold War edition. Is this quote from a movie or is it from real life? Bran, take it away.
I've always been loyal to Stalin. Always. These arrests were authorized by Stalin, but Stalin was also loyal to the collective leadership, and that is true loyalty. However, he also had an iron will, undeviating, strong. Could we not do the same and stick to what we believed in? No. It is stronger still to forge our own beliefs within the beliefs of the collective leadership, which I have now done.
All right, CJ.
Wow, what a quote.
What a quote. History or Hollywood?
Yeah, that is a quote. Ooh, it sounds like it could be somebody's monologue from a movie. But also, I mean, I've learned in life to never be surprised by actual politics and history. I'm going to go Hollywood. I don't know why.
He's going to go Hollywood. He doesn't know why. I know why. Is because the Holy Spirit is with them both. It is Hollywood.
Amazing.
It is Hollywood. Bran, this is a movie you've not seen. It's one of my favorite movies that no one's ever seen. It's called The Death of Stalin.
Okay.
It is a farce on how the Soviet Union handled the death of Stalin with everyone secretly wanting to be the next head of the Soviets. And it's all played by American actors. Like Steve Buscemi plays Nikita Khrushchev. And it's the guy that wrote Veep and In the Loop, Armando Iannucci, and it's really, really funny. We have a perfect game.
Okay.
Kyle from Rock Hill, CJ from Columbia, in a battle of the wills and a battle of the wits here. With 4 questions left.
4 total questions left.
History or Hollywood, is this quote from one of those two and not the other? Bran, take it away.
Don't join the book burners. Don't think you're going to conceal faults by concealing evidence that they ever existed. Don't be afraid to go in your library and read every book, as long as that document does not offend our own ideas of decency. That should be the only censorship.
That should be the only censorship. Kyle, history or Hollywood?
So we had a Hollywood last time.
Oh, I see how he's doing this
History
now.
before that.
We've doubled up once so far, I believe.
Okay. Don't join the book burners.
Don't join them.
I'm going to go history.
He's going to go history, and he's correct again. This is wild. These are some tricky ones, guys. You guys are doing it.
I don't even really know what to do with it at this point.
Yeah.
I kind of go into these assuming they're going to get it right.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Shout out.
D. Eisenhower.
Shout out.
That should be the only censorship. Kyle is correct. He's retaken the lead. Perfect game is intact. What a game. What a couple of players we got here. CJ, history or Hollywood, Cold War edition. The next question is yours. Is this from history or is it from a movie? Bran, take it away.
Comrades, this is your captain. It is an honor to speak to you today, and I am honored to be sailing with you on the maiden voyage of our motherland's most recent achievement. Once more, we play our dangerous game, a game of chess against our old adversary, the American Navy. For 40 years, your fathers before you and your older brothers played this game and played it well. But today, the game is different.
CJ, what do you think? History or Hollywood?
Ooh, I'm going to go Hollywood, mostly because I hope it is, because it sounds like it's about to lead up to a great scene in a movie.
He's going Hollywood, and he is correct. I had to put this in here because this is from one of the most esteemed Russian actors of all time, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
In the movie Hunt for Red October, Sean Connery, James Bond, plays a Russian Soviet naval captain and does not change his accent. You must find this movie. It will make your heart sing with laughter, and it's not a bad movie.
What's the movie?
The Hunt for Red October. That's Hollywood. And more importantly, with 2 questions left, we have a perfect game. Things are getting real, Bran. Kyle, you have 1 question left to complete a perfect game. 1 question left. It's history or Hollywood. Take it away.
This nation jealously guards its highest award for valor, the Congressional Medal of Honor. In the Korean War, with 5,720,000 personnel engaged, only 77 men were so honored. One of these 77 men was Staff Sergeant Raymond Shaw. Raymond Shaw was returned from combat and flown directly to Washington to be decorated personally by the President of the United States. This is why his presence, or the presence of any Medal of Honor winner, is sufficient to bring generals to their feet saluting.
Kyle, history or Hollywood?
Ooh,
This is a tough one,
it
dude.
really could go either way.
Yeah.
Man, I need a quarter.
Can someone get a quarter? Can someone get Kyle a quarter?
I hope I'm not losing the perfect game. I'm going to go Hollywood.
He's going to go Hollywood. And once again, Kyle guesses correctly.
Oh, my goodness.
This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Oh, I'm so stressed out.
There were 2 or 3 on here I thought would trip everyone up. That was one of them. That is the narrator from The Manchurian Candidate. Now, that's
Whoa.
the 1960s Manchurian Candidate. And if you did know that movie, Raymond Shaw would have given it away. But if you didn't know that movie from the 1960s, that was a tough one. But not for Kyle, who has completed 2 perfect rounds here on Who What When. And that means it all comes down to this question to see who moves on. CJ, you have 1 left here on History or Hollywood. Bran, take it away.
My fellow Americans, I am pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We began bombing in 5 minutes.
We begin bombing in 5 minutes. CJ, history or Hollywood?
Hey, sheesh, this is a lot.
So much is riding
Tough.
on
You
this.
can feel
CJ.
it. You can feel the
There's
tension.
so much riding on it. I'm going to go this route because I just feel like the patterns are lining up for me to drop this one. But I'm going to go Hollywood again. I'm going to go triple threat Hollywood to end the game.
He's going to go triple threat Hollywood to end the game. Bran's hands are in his face. He can't believe it. The first incorrect answer is the last question of the round. Ronald Reagan, doing a microphone test before a speech, very famously said these lines and got in big trouble with the other party.
Reagan's doing bits.
Ronald Reagan's doing bits, a real sentence said by a real president. And on the last question of the last round, the perfect game falls. CJ from Columbia, You played as well as you could play without moving on. Thank you for joining us on Who What When, and you got a lot to be proud of. Don't hang your head, CJ. A lot to be proud of. Thanks for joining us.
We're good.
This is Who What When. I'm Brandon Gray here with my buddy Daniel Thompson. Our topic this week is the Cold War, with quizzes all about the era.
Our contestant Kyle just eked out a win to head to our final game today with a chance to win that sweet, sweet Who What When fanny pack.
We'll see if he can pull it off right after the break here on Who What When.
This is Who What When, South Carolina Public Radio's hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my co-host, Brandon Gray. The Cold War era is the subject of our games this week.
And before we get to our final game today, we want to remind you that yes, you can take part in a future episode of the show. All you got to do is call or text us. It's 803-470-6347. Or email us. Please email us, whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
Our contestant Kyle from Rock Hill, South Carolina, won our first 2 rounds to secure the title of Who What When Champion of the Week. He now has the chance to take home our very special trophy, a Who What When fanny pack. He just needs to get through a little game we call History or His Story, Cold War edition.
Oh, history is story. Kyle, here's how it's going to go down. Dan has 3 stories from history about the Cold War. 2 of these stories are 100% true. The other one was 100% made up by my buddy Dan, a.k.a. it is his story. After each story, you'll have a chance to talk it through with me. We can ask questions. We can try to maybe stump Dan a little bit, get him to trip up over his lies. And after we get through all 3 stories, you will get to tell us which one you believe to be Dan's lie.
All right, Kyle, here we go. The first story on history, or his story, is called The Berlin Candy Bomber. Starts right now. After the defeat of the Nazis to end World War II, Germany was divided into 4 military zones, with the capital of Germany, Berlin, also divided into 4 distinct zones within its city limits, but mainly divided later by an actual wall between Soviet communist East Berlin and Allied-occupied West Berlin. As tensions began to mount during the arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union, the first major crisis of the Cold War was the Berlin blockade from June of 1948 to May of 1949. During this blockade, the Soviet Union blocked Western railways, roads, canal access to Berlin. The people of West Berlin that were stuck there had begun to lose basic necessities needed for living. The Western Allies organized the airlift, where the Allies would carry supplies to the people of West Berlin through the air, dropping the supplies off to the people. At its height, the Allies were delivering an average of just under 7,000 tons of supplies every day.
That's a lot.
A very famous, heroic part in history. Let me introduce you to Gale Halverson.
Can we call him Hal?
We could call him Hal.
Yes.
He's a command pilot in the U.S. Air Force. During one of his drops during the Berlin airlift, he was inspired by the number of German children in West Berlin that had not abandoned to the Soviet side, even though they were missing basic necessities to live. They were hungry, they were thirsty, and they were there each day for the drops of new supplies. He decided, as a little treat, to drop them some chocolate candy bars that one day. And isn't that nice?
That's so nice.
He loved that so much, and the kids did. He started something. The first time he did it, it was called Operation Little Vittles.
Hal, come on.
Operation Little Vittles, where Hal did not get any approval for this from his superior officers, but what he did is every time he would run an airdrop during the Berlin airlift, he also would wiggle the wings of his planes in the sky so the children could see the wings, and then they knew he was about to drop some candy for them. He gained the name the Berlin Candy Bomber, as well as Uncle Wiggly Wings, during these drops. When Hal's commanding officer heard about the operation, Hal was formally reprimanded for his actions and ordered to stop.
Come on.
But the positive press of these candy drops caused the U.S. Air Force to change their minds.
Yep.
The American Confectioners Association agreed to donate candy, and the drops continued. By the end of the blockade, Operation Little Vittles had successfully dropped over 23 tons of candy into West Berlin. Halverson received the Congressional Gold Medal for this operation and remained in the military for 25 more years, advocating for candy drops in countries like Guam, Iraq, Albania, and others. He lived to be 101 years old all the way until 2022. Can you believe it?
A wonderful story.
What a wonderful story. Brandon, what do you think?
Well, I got to be honest. I have heard you tell many sad stories from history.
Yeah.
If you
lie about Hal.
If you lie about Hal and him dropping candy, I don't know if I'll be able to forgive you.
Captain Wiggly Wings.
We finally have one nice story.
That's right.
I will not let you take this from me.
This is why we can't have nice things.
This has to be true. What are you thinking, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I hope it's true. The detail about the government being angry for making children happy
that tracks.
Yeah, it does track.
I'm thinking this is real.
It does track.
You can't let Uncle Wiggly Wings keep doing this.
I don't love that
Absolutely
name, but aside from that,
it's Uncle Wiggly Wings.
Uncle Wiggly Wings.
Oh, Hal.
That's right. All right, you ready for story number 2?
I'm ready.
All right. This story is called The United States and Russia Agree to Fight Aliens.
Okay. All right. Now we're having fun today,
Now we're
aren't
having
we?
fun. That's right. Story number 2 starts right now. So there are several stages of the Cold War. The first is expansion and containment, the idea that the United States wanted to work with other allied nations to contain the spread of communism. That leads us to something called escalation and nuclear proliferation, where everyone starts building up their arms. They start building these giant bombs threatening the other and escalating the possibility of World War III. Then we have a time period called the détente, which you know well because you speak French.
I do.
And it's an easing of tensions and like a cooling, a thawing, if you will, of the Cold War.
That's right.
And then we have Reagan, Gorbachev, and the end of the Soviet Union. So Reagan kind of amps back up the tension. And then when a new prime minister of the Soviet Union comes in, Mikhail Gorbachev, then we finally end the Soviet Union. So this is going to take place during Ronald Reagan's initial escalation of tensions after the détente. Ronald Reagan was known for a lot of things, but as far as the Cold War goes, he re-escalated tensions between the two sides because he took a hardline stance on communism and left-leaning governments all around the world. Afghanistan, Angola, Nicaragua. He called the Soviet Union the evil empire. He was a big Star Wars guy.
Star Wars
and he used that popular culture to demonize the Soviet Union. He teamed up with Britain's Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher to fight against the very soul of communism. He also creates something called the Strategic Defense Initiative that he actually nicknamed Star Wars in 1983. This is 100% true. The United States government spent billions of dollars hiring scientists in the United States to use space satellite laser technology to render nuclear weapons and intercontinental missiles useless. It was concluded later that the technology needed for the Strategic Defense Initiative just wasn't available yet. The idea that we could just shoot lasers from space, that was what Reagan wanted to do. So billions of dollars were spent, and many were critical of the plan. Ted Kennedy really taking the Star Wars idea and running with it like our president is not living in the real
kind of mocking
world.
It a bit.
Yeah. And Reagan was a sci-fi nerd. He loved Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote Tarzan series, wrote the John Carter of Mars series, and it influenced how he governed. He utilized teams comprised of scientists and sci-fi writers to consult on new technology. So he used government money to bring in writers of science fiction to see if they had any good ideas to protect the United States. Wow. So that leads us to the Geneva Convention in 1985. This is the first meeting between Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan regarding arms limitations. This leads to a series of meetings between the two, followed by meetings between Gorbachev and George H.W. Bush, and eventually the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Now, during this initial convention, Bran, Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan decided to take a break from formal talks and just take a nice walk together.
Sometimes you got to take a stroll.
Sometimes you got to take a stroll, and only their interpreters were present with them. No one knew what this talk was about until a Charlie Rose interview in 2009. At that time, Gorbachev said that Reagan asked what would happen if, hypothetically, the United States was attacked by an alien race. Gorbachev said that the Soviets would come to the aid of the United States. Reagan responded that the U.S. would do the same for the Soviets. And there, during the walk between these two titans of the Cold War, an agreement was struck with a handshake, reached and kept off the books, that in the event of an alien attack, the Soviet Union and the United States would work together to defeat the UFOs and the aliens and what have you. That is the end of story number 2, Bran. Which one of those two do you not want to be true?
I love this story so much. And I love the image that I get in my head of the interpreters walking behind them and like looking at each other being like, I can't believe we're having this conversation as we're walking behind these two highly influential individuals. We're talking about aliens. That's what we're doing today. What a story. What
a story. Kyle, what do you think?
I hope that's true. It sounds like the 80s to me. Let's put aside our differences and fight the UFOs.
Let's talk about the things that really matter.
I hope it's true.
Yeah.
I hope that agreement is still in place, honestly.
Yeah, like just in case.
Today,
I think once a year we should all come together and just be like, let's make sure we're all still on the same page in regard to the aliens.
Then all one team.
Let's get it on the record.
Today we celebrate our independence.
We can have our differences. Right. We can argue.
Yes.
But let's talk about what really matters.
Yeah, of course.
What if aliens come?
I love it. All right, you ready for story number 3?
I'm ready.
All right. Story number 3 is called the Ping Pong War.
Ping Pong War.
That's right. It starts right now. Now, after the Chinese Communist Revolution, Chairman Mao Zedong officially founded the Republic of China in 1949. Now, the Republic of China was communist like the Soviet Union was. They aligned together until they basically broke up in 1961 over the idea of who was more communist. This is true. You can look it up. In 1972, Richard Nixon, seizing an opportunity to further the split between China and the Soviet Union, became the first United States president ever to visit the nation of China. Nixon believed that doing this could A, continue to thaw out the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, while B, driving a further wedge between the Soviet Union and China at the same time, helping build a bridge with a communist country. The trip did not go as planned because of the China Table Tennis Super League.
I mean, it's a double booking situation.
As soon as I started talking about the Republic of China, you're like, the Table Tennis Super League.
I was like, hopefully it doesn't interfere.
Now, the China Table Tennis Super League is the biggest league of the biggest sport in China at the time that it happens. The Beijing Shuzhong were the premier club of the China Table Tennis Super League. During his visit to China, Nixon brought along 2 American table tennis players that Nixon believed would help relationally during the visit. So they scheduled an exhibition between these 2 nations.
It's fun.
It's fun.
We're having fun.
The 2 American ping pong players were named Jack Waldner and Sung Park. And an exhibition ping pong match was set up between the 2 Americans and the 2 members of the Beijing Shuzhong. Now, the match becomes heated.
Yeah.
The Shuzhong won in straight sets, but there was a discrepancy on a net ball that reportedly ended in a shouting match involving Waldner and a member of the Shuzhong. Now, the next morning following the match, everybody went home happy. It's okay. It's just ping pong.
We're just having fun.
The next morning following the match, Waldner, one of the players from America, was unable to be found, missing from his hotel room that was being guarded by the Secret Service. Nixon is informed that Waldner is missing. He's livid. He accused Mao Zedong of letting something happen to Waldner. As tensions begin to rise, Zedong orders the Chinese officials to not allow Nixon's party, not the Republicans, his group of people, to leave China. Nixon returns that by putting the U.S. Air Force on standby, calling the U.S. Air Force. Things are getting real. In strolls Waldner, who was embarrassed by his performance in the ping pong match the day before, feeling as though he had let his country down. He left his hotel to go for a run, clear his head, getting lost in the city of Beijing.
Oh, no.
The guy was lost in Beijing. He did not speak Chinese. It took Waldner 6 hours to find his way back to the hotel, at which point the U.S. Air Force had already been called. Tensions were running high. The U.S. was allowed to leave safely, but with most of the good relational capital gone, it's the closest the U.S. ever came to war in mainland Asia during the entire Cold War. That is the end of story number 3.
I mean, I feel like this goes without saying, don't mess with other countries' table tennis players. You don't do it. You don't do it. There's just some things you don't do.
That's rule 1.
And the things escalated so quickly in this story. I'm just happy, everyone.
Everyone's safe.
That's right.
Kyle, what do you think?
I feel like if that had happened, they would have talked about it in Forrest Gump during the ping pong scene. So, I have my doubts about
interesting.
that one.
Okay. All right. So the time is now.
Yes.
Kyle, you have a perfect game on the line. You got a fanny pack on the line. There are 3 stories from history.
That's right.
We have the ping pong war. We have the U.S. and Russia agree to fight aliens together, and we have the Berlin candy bomber. What are your thoughts, and which story is my story?
I've heard the term ping pong diplomacy, but I've never heard of the ping pong war. I've got to hope that the alien agreement is still in place, and Uncle Wiggly Wings, I don't think you made that up. You're pretty clever, but I don't think you made up Uncle Wiggly Wings. So I'm going to say the ping pong war is your story.
He's going to say the ping pong war is my story. What would you have gone with?
Everything that Kyle said is right out of my journal here. Exactly what I'm thinking. Exactly what I'm thinking. And I'm going to be mad if it's not.
Yeah. You want the other 2 to be true. So
100%.
Let's go ahead and start with the Berlin candy bomber. Uncle Wiggly Wings, 100% true.
Thank God.
Gail Halverson, Hal, lived to be 101 years old.
Shout out, Hal.
A champion.
Shout out.
Just a hero among men. The best of us. Go look up that guy's story. Just an amazing dude. 100% true. Reagan and Gorbachev agreeing to fight aliens together. Also true.
Yeah.
Also true.
Oh, yeah.
Gorbachev coming onto Charlie Rose and being like, here's what we did. We shook hands on the fact that we're fighting the aliens together. True story. Look it up. And lastly, Kyle is bright because I wrote this story based upon the idea of ping pong diplomacy.
Wow.
There was an exhibition match of Chinese and American ping pong players, but that match actually led the countries closer together. The Americans got along with the Chinese table tennis players. They rode on a bus afterwards to the hotel together, and it actually helped ease the tensions of the Cold War, doing the opposite of what I made up here in the ping pong war. Kyle caught it. He's right. It's a perfect game. It's a fanny pack, and everybody goes home happy on Who What When.
Wow. Kyle, acceptance speech. Give it to us.
Oh, I'm overjoyed. I just hope the fanny pack's big enough to hold a Celsius if I ever meet Gavin Jackson.
I mean, it's got to be. I think it's got to be. This is very exciting.
And if Austin Riley hits a home run tonight, then everybody wins. You know what I mean?
It's going to be big.
Absolutely.
Kyle, thank you so much for playing Who What When. We are so happy, not only that you won, but you had a perfect game. Your picture will be hanging on the walls of the studio forever.
Trust us on that. Kyle, thanks so much, man. You were amazing.
Give a quick shout out to my son Henry, my wife Sarah. We listen every week as a family.
Shout out.
They don't know that I'm on the show, and they won't know until it airs.
Oh my gosh, Kyle, Henry, and Sarah, your dad just completed a perfect game. I know you're proud. Kyle, thanks so much.
And Henry, your dad just told us that you're going to Disney World to celebrate.
You're going to Disney World. It's unbelievable.
You heard it here first.
All expenses paid by your dad. It's
That's
great.
Right. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. This
Thanks,
is so
man.
much fun, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
And that'll do it for the Cold War edition of Who What When. A big thanks to our contestants Kyle and CJ for joining us today. And congratulations once again to Kyle for taking home the title of the Who What When Champion of the Week.
Our producer is A.T. Shire. Our executive producer is Sean Birch, a.k.a. the Candy Bomber of Who What When. This show's a production of South Carolina Public Radio and is made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
Join us for a future episode of Who What When. Just call or text us at 803-470-6347 or send an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, southcarolinapublicradio.org/whowhatwhen.
And you can listen to an extended version of our show, More Bits, in your favorite podcast app or through your smart speaker.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who What When.